College girl sobbed marrying an old man, but was stunned on their wedding night when she saw him. Emma Carter had never worn heels so high, nor a dress so heavy with lace, nor carried so much sorrow in her heart. She was only 21, standing at the altar with trembling fingers, her face pale under layers of blush and forced smiles. The man before her, gray-haired, wrinkled, and leaning slightly on a cane, smiled with soft, tired eyes. His name was Harold Whitmore. He was 73. As the minister spoke, Emma tried not to cry. Her mother's gentle sob from the front pew wasn't out of joy, it was regret. But this was the only way. Emma was a senior at Larkhill University, brilliant, compassionate, and full of life. She wanted to study social work and become a counselor for children who had experienced trauma. Her scholarship had carried her this far, but last winter, her mother was diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer. Insurance had denied treatment. The hospital bills piled high like angry waves on a sinking ship. She worked nights at a coffee shop, sold her books, took on tutoring, even skipped meals to save money. But it wasn't enough. Then came the offer. Harold Whitmore was a reclusive millionaire known for his philanthropic work, and for refusing interviews. His assistant, a kind middle-aged woman named Ruth, approached Emma out of the blue one evening after her shift. "You don't know me, but I know you," Ruth had said. "Mr. Whitmore has read about your academic work, your volunteer hours with children in foster care, and how you're trying to save your mother. He'd like to help, under one condition." Emma stared, jaw clenched. "What condition?" "You must marry him." Emma laughed. It was so absurd she thought it must be a scam. But Ruth didn't flinch. "He's not a predator," she added. "He's dying. He wants companionship in his final year. He wants to give something, and he believes you deserve a chance. You can say no. But if you say yes, he'll pay for your mother's treatment, fund your education through graduate school, and establish a foundation in your name for at-risk children." Emma walked home that night with the proposal heavy in her hands, her thoughts spinning. That evening, she sat by her mother's bedside. Mary Carter, once vibrant and strong, was now frail and hollow-eyed. Emma told her the truth. Her mother wept and refused. But Emma had already decided. And so, here she was, whispering, "I do," as her voice cracked and a single tear ran down her cheek. The wedding reception was a small affair at Whitmore Estate, quiet and tasteful. Harold was polite, gentle, and oddly respectful. He didn't try to touch her. Didn't gloat or assert any ownership. He mostly sat watching her quietly, a strange tenderness in his eyes that didn't match the transactional nature of their arrangement. That night, Emma entered the master bedroom with dread crawling up her spine. Her hands trembled as she turned the doorknob. Inside, candles flickered gently, casting warm glows on the walls. Harold sat in a large armchair, not in bed. He stood, slowly, when he saw her. "Emma," he said, voice gravelly but soft, "you don't have to stay here tonight. In fact, you don't ever have to share a bed with me." She stared, stunned. "This is your room now," he continued, gesturing to a suite connected to his. "I want you to be free. This arrangement, it's my final wish, yes. But it's not a cage. You are not for sale." Emma's knees weakened. She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. Not because she was afraid anymore, but because this man, this stranger, had just given her something more profound than money. He gave her dignity. Over the next few weeks, Emma's perception of Harold shifted. He wasn't just some rich recluse waiting to die. He read poetry at sunrise. He walked with a limp from a car accident in his 30s. The same accident that took his wife and daughter. He painted landscapes but never showed them. He donated secretly to orphanages and hospitals. And every Sunday, he visited a hospice center where he read to patients too weak to hold books. Emma found herself listening, then learning, then laughing with him. She told him about her dreams, her fears, her past. He listened, always. He never crossed lines. He never asked for affection. But she began giving it anyway, first in conversations, then in small touches, then in genuine smiles. It was during one spring evening, when the cherry trees bloomed in the garden, that Harold clutched his chest and collapsed. Emma screamed for help. Doctors said it was heart failure. Harold was given weeks. In the hospital, Harold held her hand and said, "I used to think I'd die forgotten. But you've changed that." Tears fell from her eyes. "You didn't just save my mother," she whispered. "You saved me. I thought I gave up my future to marry you. But you gave me back more than I ever had." In his final days, Harold asked Emma to do one last thing: open the envelope in my drawer after I'm gone. That's all. Harold Whitmore passed away quietly 3 weeks later, with Emma reading Yeats at his bedside. She mourned not like a widow of convenience, but like a woman who had discovered love in the least likely place. On the night of the funeral, she opened the drawer. Inside was a letter. "My dearest Emma. I knew you'd cry on our wedding day. I don't blame you. I was just a dying old man, trying to find peace at the edge of the cliff. But when you walked into my life, something stirred, not romance, not passion, but purpose. You were a light in my final chapter. You see, I wasn't looking for a wife. I was looking for a legacy. I've spent decades building fortunes. None of it mattered. I lost my family in a blink. I lost my reason. Then I met you. You had more courage at 21 than I had at 70. So I rewrote my will." By the time you read this, the Harold and Emma Whitmore Foundation will have launched scholarships, children's homes, mental health centers. Your name will be on every building. Not because of what you did for me, but because of who you are. Live freely. Love deeply. And never doubt that you were chosen, not bought. Yours in peace, Harold. Emma sobbed again that night, not out of fear or regret, but love. Real love. The kind born not in passion, but in shared humanity. 10 years later, Emma stood before a group of students at a dedication ceremony in Chicago. Behind her was a building with her name etched in marble. "My husband," she said through the mic, "was a man people misunderstood. He didn't save me with money. He saved me with grace. I married him in tears. But I carry his heart now, proudly." The crowd applauded. Among them sat children from foster homes, students on scholarships, and cancer survivors. All touched by the foundation Harold had dreamed of and Emma had brought to life. The world saw a story of sacrifice. But Emma knew the truth. She had cried marrying an old man. But on their wedding night, when she saw him, truly saw him, she realized she hadn't made a sacrifice. She had met her miracle.